Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast, your weekly dose of many discussions and opinions, a show where we get comfortable being uncomfortable. And remember, no topic is off limits. Now let's talk about it.
Let me just make sure I don't have enough coffee for the whole show, but that's okay. We're going to make this work.
And no problem.
We're going to make it work. All right. So let's get started. Welcome back, guys, to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Misty. And today, thank you. See, I'm laughing. Like, This is already starting. Like, what did I get myself into? I don't know. But here we are today. This is going to be an entertaining episode on many levels.
I hope so.
It will be. It will be. I'm very confident that it will be. On many levels, I actually don't want to miss my notes. So let me go to my notes of what we're going to talk
ready,
about.
Prepared. I love this.
Listen, I put work into my agendas for a reason. Here we are. We have a full agenda as always. You know, my audience already knows that. And we have a pretty dope guest here. One half of a podcast, but also one man show, right?
Yes,
am I going on the right track here?
You got it.
Actor, comedian. I could go on here, but lately what I do is
keep going. We got enough time to record. No.
But what I like to do these days is I like to give the microphone off the bat to my guests to introduce themselves. So my dear guest, would you please introduce yourself to my listeners?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I go by the name of Rick Herrera. I'm a very spiritual human being. I'm artistic. I'm creative. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a brother. I'm just a passionate human being that tries to do right and learn from my mistakes and learn and grow within myself and others, and still figuring out certain purposes in my life, and some of them that I do know what they are. And I'm just enjoying and still figuring out life until I'm here, until it's time to return home, and just doing what I love and showing love to others. I'm like a Sancocho, man. In Sancocho, that shit has so much stuff inside, and it tastes good altogether. So yes, I taste good. Not, but so it's like I'm just a big pot of everything, and I have many different layers to myself, and I'm still figuring out myself too. So right, because you never stop learning and growing. Right now, I may think I have a grasp, but when I'm 60 or 70, hopefully I'm able to, still be alive at that time. I may not like myself. I may not be able to walk, or something, or like I may have like grouchy. Maybe something happened in life and I don't want to be around people, So I don't know. Maybe there's something new I'll learn about myself at that time. Hopefully not, but
hopefully not. Will the recipe change though of the Sancocho by that time? That's the question.
One. I might have high blood pressure. I might have put a lot of salt in my Sancocho, right? So now I'm like whitewash, right? I'm a white Cocho, you know what I'm saying? Like,
white Cocho.
I'm gentrified Sancocho now. I'm not the same. I'm taste different, but I'm still doing what I got to do.
Right. White Cocho. Listen, the way this episode is already going, I can taste it already. I like this recipe. It's already starting off great. For those who don't know, for my listenership, okay, would you like to enlighten exactly what a Sancocho is? Because the first stop where I was definitely in the Caribbean, and it's definitely one of the countries where Sancocho is definitely to the T, but the original Sancocho. Would you like to enlighten them of what Sancocho is?
Well, I taste many. I tasted like a Dominican version. I tasted a Puerto Rican version because I'm both. So I'm half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. And to me, it's just this hearty, chunky, amazing soup. And it just has so many things. There's different vegetables and meats that you could put. Like people have different versions of it. Yeah. But if you're sick, or not even sick, but on a cold day and it's raining and you have some and it's hot and it's straight out that pot, oh my God, it's just like you will cream yourself, and also you will go to sleep because it does so much to the body. It nourishes you and relaxes you and gets all that stuff out of you.
It's so true. Oh my God, you are so on point with it. If you don't feel good, te sientes mal. You drink sopa, right?
Yes.
That's the secret. I'm Ecuadorian. So we also we call it the calditos, right? We drink the caldos, and it's my favorite one. I think I've mentioned it on my show before, but for homage to my country and my mama, we have it, and it's called caldo de bolas verdes, right? So it's like the bolas verdes is of a plantain, right? And it's in the caldo, and it has the meats and the corn and all this other stuff in it. And it's very much so similar to Sancocho.
You see, I feel like every culture has their own version of it. Like we should go on a Sancocho world tour, because we're probably missing. So like I'm missing that Sancocho. That sounds amazing. I'm like, yo, I want to try that.
Right.
And I think and then the South it's called gumbo. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody got their own like this heartfelt meaty soup.
Yes. And it picks you right back up. Shout out to my Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, because the first stop on my cruise, I just got back from vacation today. We're recording. And the first stop was San Juan. And, I had to go to the streets to have bacalaitos and acapurias and all your good stuff. And the last stop ended up being Puerto Plata. And I had to have some Dominican food too. And I mean, like real food, authentic. Like, the authentic. I needed to have, it's not a fair trip if you don't have the authenticity of a country and a culture. And I'm a firm believer of that, especially if, you hop in from island to island on a cruise, you have an opportunity to taste from everywhere. Right. So shout out to my Puerto Ricans and Dominican community on that, because it was a pleasant trip and delicious food, of course.
It looked pleasant. You still got that tan.
I'm trying. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna walk in with the cruise like look to work when I get back in. Nobody better say nothing to me with my shades on in the sand. But we're gonna keep this tan alive. But we're gonna jump right in. So if you're new to the show, here we have several segments, and we open up with Raw Mess of the Week. And so with Raw Mess of the Week, we always try and highlight something a little messy. Usually, from pop culture, society, sometimes the news, sometimes anything general in life, right? And so I kind of want to keep the momentum with the cultures going a little bit, because while I was on the cruise, I actually watched a movie that I have not been able to watch in its entirety. Because it gets me emotional, and I just very Hispanic, like culturally start to cry and can't finish the movie. And I ended up watching another one in its company, sisterly brotherly love movie that was very sort of kind of similar. I'm talking about Disney's movies Coco and Encanto. I don't know if you've seen those movies.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and
love them.
Yeah, and so I'm very late on Coco because everybody done watch that movie. So I'm mad late. I'm always late. I'm never with the trends. Let me just say that. I'm always late.
You did it though.
I did it. I finally got through. I did. In the middle of the waves, I finally got through. And I watched Encanto also. And one of the things that stood out to me, because I'm sure it doesn't just happen in the Latino community. I'm sure it happens in different cultures as well. But one of the things that stood out to me was just how quick it is. And it stayed with me in a moment for a second, right? How quick it is for our matriarchs, our abuelitas, abuelos, la nana, to kind of like be so hard on you when you're breaking the rules or going against what the older people say, your elders. And it kind of stayed stuck with me a little bit with how we're going to dive into our conversation as to what your journey has been. Yeah. There we go. As to what your journey has been. My journey, and in essence, my listeners who have been very loyal since day one, shout out to you guys, have already known a little bit about me, and why I do things so different as a parent from the way my parents did stuff with me and my siblings. For the record, and let me just say this, my parents are my world. I could fight with them every day, but I will fight for them any day. So let me just say that. But there's certain things that we sometimes go a little bit contra la corriente, against the current. Shout out to my cruise-like mentality right now. Wow.
Still on that vacation.
I'm still on a vacation. But we go against the current with what our parents want for us, or what's supposed to be successful, or what these rules are culturally. And it stayed with me. And I wanted a little bit of your thoughts with that. Where are you with that process?
I agree with you. So I had two versions of myself in the beginning. Of course, I was very angry for that, because they wanted to guide me to a different life that I didn't want to per se. And like what I mean is, um, the dream is the 9 to 5 job, right? The office, the health benefits and all that stuff, and that's great because you do got to survive, right? And you got to pay bills. But then there's another side of me that is not only about that. I'm more than just that. And I want to go after certain things that is scary, comedy, writing and stuff like that. So, and I was very angry because I guess from at that time, what I was receiving, it felt like they were against me, right? And I felt like where I want support. I don't want XYZ of why it could go wrong and why I got to stay on this line. I want to hear that, like, wow, you're actually good. Go after it. You can do it. And that, and for the longest, and it's only normal, that fueled me because I was angry. It's like, I'm going to show them. And then working on myself in front of my spiritual teacher, I learned that it's not about them and it's not about the world. It's about me. It's about doing it for me. And I had to realize and put myself in their shoes to know that that's their dream because that's how they was brought up. They didn't have anything. So coming from a different country, their dream is to get a 9 to 5 job in their office. They only know this world, right? And therefore the stuff that's coming out of their mouth is not to attack you, but to protect you, to be like, hey, it's hard out there. You should do this. And it's up to you to realize that and let that anger go and to know that they still love you and support you, but there you have another dream and it's not their dream. And it's okay that if they don't believe in a dream, you have to believe in your dream, not no one else. And then by you going on and doing it, which has happened in my life, they start supporting you and they start seeing you as an inspiration. Like, wow, Ricky is doing it. Ricky did it. Because now you're showing them that, hey, one world is the 9 to 5, but then you also could do this other world and you could bring it into your world. So when they only had one view, now you're showing them two different views or multiple views of that, what you can do. And essentially that view is you can do whatever you want to do. You have time to do it. You got to make time for it. And you could do what you love, and still do all and explore and do all these layers. So I was angry for a while, but I started to let that go. Like, you can't crucify someone for being something, or trying to guide you, or they didn't have these things. Right. They didn't have no one telling them, hey, guess what? When you come from Puerto Rico at the age of 9, this is my mom at 9, that you can be a singer, you can be an artist, you can, or if you want to sew, you can make clothing. All her dream was like, go to school, try to make it to school, try to put food on the table now because she got pregnant at a young age and figure out life. Like, that's it. That was it, and you can't crucify them for, to make to be something that they're to not. You could teach them, or if they, like when they get older, they don't want to learn anymore. But by you just showing and being yourself, they learn from that. And they may have the ego of not telling you, wow, you actually taught me something, but they'll say certain things down the road, like, wow, I'm proud of you, or that's awesome, or you still doing that, like these little things. So I say just it's not needed, to hold on to anger towards your parents, and if you don't get that support, because if you end up doing it like I did at one point, it starts coming out of anger and you're never felt sufficient or accomplished. You're like, oh, I did this show, I did that, and I sold it out and I did great. I showed them. And in the end, it's like, they're like, okay, when's the next show? Or so it's like, and then you're like, yo, didn't you just see it?
Wasn't that enough?
I did it. And it's still, why did you backlash? Because you had anger and you're doing out of anger. Where I have done it, my mom would say, wow, Ricky, that was great. When's the next show? I laugh and I'm like, Mom, it takes a long time, but thank you. That's a positive response. Like, she's excited to see another show, when I'm going to do something else, or she'll randomly ask, like, are you working on something? What are you doing? That's her way. So everyone has a way of kind of like supporting in their own way. And it may not be the support that you want, right? So like we spoke about this briefly, and I'm sorry I'm rambling, but
it's okay. No,
just by you doing this podcast, I'm proud of you, and that's awesome, right? That's awesome. Where your parents might be saying, why are you wasting money on this? Why are you wasting your time doing this? For what? Where is it going to take you? You know what I'm saying? Those are valid questions, but you can answer them in a positive. Where is it going to take you? Well, it's going to take me to places to be happy and doing what I love. Why are you investing money in that? Because I love it. It's my passion. You know, why did you invest in us to put food on the table? Because you love us, right?
Amen.
So
yes.
it's very similar. Yeah. So just by you doing that is freaking awesome, you know. And there's gonna come people in your life that where you like, man, it feels good to get the support, because it's people that actually is like your tribe, people that your friends or whoever, family members that get it, and and it's coming from a genuine place, and that means more. That's like the search that you was looking for to get support, not only from yourself because you get lonely. Now you're getting it from like your listeners, and even if someone say, "Wow, that's amazing," like that means the world. Even if you have 3 of those people, that's it. That will fuel you to keep going. Like, I got something. And then when you look in the mirror, it's like, and I got myself, because I love doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think it goes so aligned and so well connected to the storytelling piece in both those movies and what our culture is in the Latino community, especially. But again, I'm sure this happens in all sorts of cultures too. What we experience, right? When it comes to, oh my God, I'm getting so like very nostalgic here with all these refranes, with all these sayings. You know, there was something that my mom would say, más sabe el diablo por viejo que por diablo. You know, the devil knew what he knew from wisdom, you know, not for just being the devil. And you know, that's how they say, oh, the devil will try you, the devil will try you, right? And it's like, when you think about that and you see what these movies demonstrated, it was so relatable to me, right? To your point, something that you said, when I announced to my family what I was doing, my parents, the first question was, ¿Y qué es eso? What is that? And who's paying you for that? Like, someone had to pay me for this because I'm putting in work, right? Someone had to pay me for this. It could not possibly be that I just enjoy speaking to a microphone, speaking to people, or sometimes to myself, right? Impossible, right? But is the investment, yes, to your point, that I've put into myself, into a passion, and what that has created for me from a community standpoint. When you think about both movies, Coco, Encanto, at some point they have people of your 2 people in each movie, right? The one person in this movie and the one person in that movie, where the family was against them, but they had other people supporting them. It was in their community. It was people who wanted to know about them. It was people who were there, you know, hyping them up, amping them up. And so when we look at us and when we look at what our community has been, what our upbringing has been, it was just so relatable to me. So relatable. And I wanted to bring that up as a topic because I feel that as we continue, right? You, myself, and others who are in our positions, who are working those 9-to-5s and are also pursuing those passions, we have also the opportunity to have babies and raise these kids. We want to make sure we're sending the right message to them too, right?
Absolutely. Because I love that you touched on that, right? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, growing up, you have teachers, parents, whatever, telling us over and over, you could be whatever you want to be. You could be whatever the fuck you want to be. You hear it. Then a certain age happened when you're about to go to college. All right, think about what you're going to really be, because you need to pay bills. Yes, I remember I said astronaut, but your grades ain't up there. You know, yes, I remember you said you could be president, but no, that's a society you want to be in. So let's start filling applications and we'll see where you fit in, right?
Yeah.
But so now now all of a sudden we tell these things to our kids, and we're smart as hell, right? Because we're like, oh, I could be anything. And then a certain age come, and now we start getting angry that you're telling us to kind of like say, well, you can't be everything, you know what I'm saying? But you could be everything for a job from 9 to 5. So figure that out. Now we start getting angry because, like, wait, so it was a lie? I have to give up this dream? I have to not pursue it? Like, was this all a scam? And you start getting angry about that. And now when you have kids, right? Because I know for me, I have a child, I'm still learning from this journey. I'm like, wow, how fucked up is that I'm going to tell my daughter all this? And what am I supposed to do at a certain age? Tell her, hey, by the way, that conversation I said, you could be anything you want. You actually ain't gonna be shit. You know,
Right.
at 20 years old, you're gonna have to get a job. You know, so I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and I get it, you know, parents, you know, they only know a certain, like, they not all parents, but like older generational parents, like how we grew up on, they, like I mentioned before, they only know one world. And I think what happens is, along with this anger, that we look for this approval for them, because our parents is our first uh teachers. Our parents is our first superheroes. So we're looking up to them, right? But we fail to realize that they're also human beings too.
Mm,
That they also make mistakes. They also learning and growing, whether they want to admit it or not, because parents are going to, I know I'm going to fuck up as a parent, right? Because I have worked on myself and I continue to work on myself, and I know I'm not perfect. So I know I'm an awesome creative father, but there's going to be a time that my daughter may say, you fucked up here, you fucked up here, you fucked up there. The difference is that I will let her speak, and then we could have this conversation, and I will take responsibility if it adds up, right? You know what? You're right. Our parents will not do that. Hey, you fucked up here, here, and here. Oh yeah, but did I fuck up not giving you food every night? Did I fuck? Yes, I get it. That's one aspect. I get it, and thank you for that. And that is a huge aspect of life. I get it, but there would have been some other things that I needed that I would have loved to have. So now I'm gonna learn from this and give that to my child. But I'm not gonna hold you accountable, because it's stupid to hold out to that anger when I know I'm not responsible for your growth or change. And you're not going to accept that. So therefore, you're not going to have power over me. And I'm not going to no longer search for approval from you in everything that I'm doing for me.
Amen. Rick couldn't have said this any better, because my parents raised 4 kids, and it's a great segue into the as raw as it gets, because we already covered some of what that was going to be in that segment. But my parents raised 4 kids, and out of the 4, we all have different ways of communication with them. And my whole family will say, well, Daisy loves to fight with everybody. That's fine. If you guys want to call it fighting, I call it debating. I don't know. Friendly discussion is exactly
speaking my truth.
You know, have a conversation. I mean, it's exactly what my show's about, right? But for me, it's like, I always say, like, we all 4 of us had different parents. The 2 older ones had completely different parents from what the 2 younger ones did. I'm one of the younger ones, right? Times were different. They learned with the first 2, so they loosened up a little bit with the last 2. But one of the things I do realize is, you know, I could sit here and turn blue in the face how many times I needed certain things from my parents, and why that definitely led me to make certain decisions. I'm not blaming them for it. I take full responsibility and accountability for the decisions I made, and I've said my apologies. But I could continue turning blue in the face, repeating the same shit over and over again. Or I could just let it be what it is and just make sure I don't commit the same mistakes with my child. And when I do, because I am not perfect and I know I'm going to make certain mistakes, I have to be able to apologize. And the reason why I say that is because that is probably the only pet peeve I have from my entire childhood with my parents, is that when they knew they were wrong, they would refuse to apologize to me. And that was one thing I just, till this day, it still gets to me. And that's why I made sure that in raising my kid, if I fuck up, I owe him an apology. And he has the open forum to say, yo, mom, you fucked up. Like, you messed up with me, and this is how I feel. Like, I've had that bond with him for that reason.
That's beautiful.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate that shine light on that concept, because a lot of people are very afraid to talk about it, and plenty of others are still uncomfortable making that a topic of conversation.
It's so funny, because if you sit down and talk to our parents, you will hear all the anger that they had towards their parents. So what do you, or whatever, you know, whatever they felt like they could have done better, that their parents could have done better. I'm like, and you don't think that I have a view on that too, like with you, like, and vice versa, like, but it's up to us, like you said, what you did, you took responsibilities that, well, I'm going to change certain things when I start raising my child. And you have this beautiful relationship with them, and keep letting that grow, because everyone has a right to their truth and to speak it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that you may agree with everything that your son may be saying.
Right.
You know, there's some things that you'll say, like, you'll see why when you're older and have a kid, why I did X, Y, and Z. But for right now, you may think I'm like this super anal and overprotective mother. And I
Mm-hmm.
get it, because at that age, you can only see it that way. But when you're older, let's revisit this. So definitely speak that out. And I hear you. But let's revisit this again when you have kids. Because I guarantee you, there's a lot of shit when I grew up, I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Damn.
And there's sometimes when I was in it, I was like, no, I don't get it. You don't want me to go out there. You don't
Why
want me to
me?
yeah, why me? Why can't I play with strangers at night, guitar? No, I need to go out at 1 a.m, come back to the like, this is no. My mom was like, you need to be home by a certain time, because as I got older now, I look at my daughter, I'm like, let her fucking come to me and be like, hey, I'm gonna go play guitar. It's like 11 at night. And I'm the hell no. Can you do this at 1 p.m. on a Saturday? You know, so I'm like, so there's certain things I had to revisit when I got old. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it now.
I got it now. Yeah. This is a perfect segue into As Raw as It Gets segment. Here's where we get a little bit more raw with the conversation, and you already shined so much light on everything that I wanted to cover there too, but so aligned with the raw mess of the week. So before we even go into the, y'all, if you have not watched Coco and Encanto like me, because you're not with the trends in the moment that shit happens, that's okay.
Super busy doing cruises and vacations.
I wait for who waits on a cruise to watch a fucking movie? Me. It's me. I do it. Please watch it. Totally Disney movie. I think they're Pixar's. I can't remember, but please watch it. Please understand those concepts and talk to us. Let us know, is this something relatable to you as well, to your culture if you're not from the Latino community as well. With the As Raw as It Gets segment, diving right into the conversation, you talk about telling your truth. Your one-man show. Diving into your story, diving into, your overall BK native. Shout out to Brooklyn. Yeah. I be out there sometimes. I run the Bronx, but I be out there sometimes. Pursuing your dreams and telling the story, in front of a camera. And it's a story. The way you did it was a story. It wasn't just like, this is more like an interview conversation, but it was the entire flow of it. And it was just how raw you kept your entire truth in that moment. I'm very big on, boundaries with privacy, but then also being able to speak your truth and what it is that you share and what you choose to share. How was it that you were able to produce that show and telling your truth and speaking your story when it came to who Rick is, with all your talents, your multifaceted talents?
It was very tough. This was something that, when I wanted to write or The Naked Truth and do a one-man play, I was inspired from a lot of one man and one woman plays that I saw, one of being John Leguizamo. And, I was like, this is something that I always wanted to do. And I always kept it in the back burner. And I was individually, separately doing these things, like singing, doing comedy, poetry. So I was very artistic and doing acting, taking acting classes. And I'm like, man, I want something where, I want to put all these things together of who I am and then tell my story. But the difference is I waited on that, because if I would have told it early, it would have been just angry. There would have been no lessons in there. Still would have been funny. But then I reached a point in my life where I was like, I want to make you more than just laugh. I want to also make you think. I want you to connect. I want you to feel, because I want to feel that on stage. So it wasn't until I met my spiritual teacher and I started Guru Enlightenment, and I started working on myself. She teaches you that everyone has a purpose in life, and she teaches you how to let go and work on yourself, and from abandonment to anger issues, everything. She's an amazing woman, super funny, very humbled. Not your cliche spiritual teacher that you would say per se what you see when they they're Indian or they wear these robes, whatever. Not her. She keeps it very truthful, very honest, and is free, because she has these gifts in life that she can't charge, which one of them is she can hear your spirit, and that's how she knows so much about you, right? And she's like the the guy from the Matrix, not Morpheus, the other lady, the Oracle from the Matrix. She's like that, right?
Okay.
So So it wasn't until I got there, right? And I was unleashing all these layers and learning and working on myself. And I remember she said, in the first visits, she told me, why do you have all this anger towards your mother? You have abandonment issues. You have all these things. I'm like, God damn, how the fuck you know all this shit? And then we started breaking it down. And one of the things she also mentioned is you're gonna have to make a decision. So it's like these blues clues or whatever that she was giving you. And then every week I would see her and work on myself. I became a student of hers. So I say that to say that while I kept on working on her, up like months down the road, after I was learning so much about myself and looking in the mirror and writing all these things, I said, I want to write this show. I think it's time now, because the difference was I was learning, I was growing, I was letting go, I was revisiting a lot of things from my life and all these trauma that I was like, the time is now. So then I went back to her. I said, hey, I want to work on this show, blah, blah. She says, oh, wow, that's awesome. And she also became the director. I told her, I said, was that the decision I had to make? She says, yes. So then once I got the approval that I'm like, oh, this is it, it started taking me down on this road. I was crying. I was learning from this stuff. And I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to be on stage and I want to share my truth and share my story, to learn from it, to grow from it, to laugh at it, to heal from it, and leave things. And also maybe there's certain lessons that I still need to grow, right? So I leave certain things open. And I want to talk about not having a father, or he was in and out of my life. And I want to talk about the back and forth that I had of my mom growing up. Want to talk about, my neighborhood. And by doing that, it became this very therapeutic a therapeutic show for me, that it was everything that I wanted to do. And it felt like this was my intro back into the world, because during the show I took a break from performing. I just kept writing. And then when I re-entered the world now, I had a whole different perspective. I was performing from a different place within me. It just shined so much light on me. And then, which is the greatest thing in the world, that it's better than receiving money, because money cannot buy that, is the response and the effect that you had on people. And that wasn't my goal. I always say, hopefully I can touch them. Hopefully they can learn from it. But I have to be that vessel for me first. So when I did it, and I kept on doing it, and the response was amazing, and people was like, I can relate, you helped me, blah, blah, blah. That was just like the icing on the cake. I was like, this is the best feeling in the world. Like, that I'm also helping others, and people are relating to it, because there's plenty of times that I relate to other people. I'm like, oh, I see myself in you. And like, oh, thank you. You just shared something. Oh, I'm not alone. I feel this way. So I just wanted to, and I named it The Naked Truth, because, and people was like, oh, you naked on the covers, because I had like the guitar or whatever. And everybody was like, oh, look at you being so sexy. I was like, that was a shocking thing, right? I wanted to shock value. Yes. But to me, it was that we enter this world as when we're young, we're so pure and we're naked. We had no baggage from everybody. The baggage just coming from our family, society, and they start piling this shit on top of us, on the person that we are when we come into this world. So that poster for me was like, I'm coming into this world naked now. I'm shredding all these layers to come back pure as myself, the naked truth.
Oh, you know what? We're gonna insert the applause sound effect at that moment.
Yeah, give me some more claps though.
But we're gonna do it, and I'm gonna tell you why. So I was happy that you just brought this up, and I was hoping that you would. And for the record, listeners, as always, in the show notes, you will have the links to everything we're going to be referencing here. Always. This will be on YouTube, your YouTube channel. So definitely that's going to be a calling for go subscribe and support. What I loved about that concept, and I understood it perfectly. And my listeners know this, and my following knows this as well. In my Double Dose of Raw Talk store, I have my ebook, my journal to self-love. And it was about building and rebuilding my own confidence based on a certain experience that I had. It's not too in depth of too much detail. That will be for the book when that releases, guys. But but it was a little dose of what that experience was and how I came to the self-love. And the reason why I bring this up is because I purposely put on the cover a side profile of me naked, right? Wow. Wearing just just a little piece of lingerie. Yeah. And the reason why I did that was because, yes, it is the shock value, right? But also it was the concept behind it. I am leaving it all bare for you guys here. Like, yes. I've never really spoken up as to what that one experience was that was rock bottom to me, in quotation marks, because rock bottom could look so many different ways to so many different people.
Right.
And what that was for me in that moment and what it took for me to rebuild myself up. You know, as someone who constantly hears, you're so confident, you know, I admire you. I heard it just on this cruise, and it was so beautiful to hear this young lady say it. You know, she was like, I admire your confidence, and I hope to one day be that way. And I was like, you are. You don't even realize that you are. You're very confident. And if you're thinking about, because of us being, you know, plus size women, that's the least of your worries, and the confidence is how you carry yourself, and you are a confident young lady. And that was really the whole concept behind my journal to self-love. It was beyond just my body. It was more than that. It was deeper than that. And I did that for that reason. And I had hoped that people who saw it and supported it understood that. Some did, some didn't. Right. I got a little backlash on it. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, but I was hoping that would be the understanding that when we come on this mic or camera and we're speaking our truth and we're telling our story, it's for a reason. It's one, because we're ready to do so. Two, because we want to share our experiences with the world, with you. If it relates to you, if it helps you, great. That's a win right there. You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think I did it to hear back from someone saying, oh my God, that related so much to that. I didn't do it for that. I hoped it would help someone, but I didn't do it for the level of responses that I got to. And I think that in essence is the real reward. When you think about somebody who's putting all their passion out there to the world, to understand, to feel, to listen, to hear, to see, and for them to sit there and say, I felt you right here, like deep in here.
This show is sponsored by Queens Infusions, a mompreneur-owned brand that creates terpenes and CBD-infused wellness products. Woman-owned, mompreneur, small business-owned, Queens Infusions wellness products are homemade in small batches from locally sourced ingredients, and they are my absolute favorite. To mellow out, to chill, to enjoy the scent, the taste, ooh, you name it. You don't want to miss this. Go to the show notes, go to Queens Infusions Etsy shop, and at checkout, use DDRT code for 20% off, courtesy of Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast.
When you do things out of love, you know, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
The love comes back to you, you know, and that's something that a lot of artists and individuals, and not even just human beings, have to realize. When you do something out of love and it's breaking so many things inside you, that's the thing that you should keep on going afterwards, and it will respond well, you know, even though that's not the case, right? But no, you can't run away from truth, and you can't run away with what that feeling gives you, right? Because the one way I always say, like, when people ask me, you know, when I write and stuff like that, do you know where certain places what's going to happen? I said, well, I know where certain laughs are going to be, but a lot of it's always different every time I perform it, right? So I say that to say that if I'm feeling these things while I'm writing it, then I can only imagine what you're going to feel when I'm performing it too, because what I'm experiencing is a human emotion through these things.
Right.
And I expect that to happen to others when they're watching it, just like when they read your book. You went through so many emotions. There's people are going to go through the same exact motions when they read it, maybe at different chapters or whatever. But I guarantee it that if you kept true to your source and to yourself, and you did it out of love and truthful and honesty, it's going to reflect that to others too. They're going to be like, wow, I can't believe it. And the truth is in the pudding, because the love came right back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. I want to ask you one question. I know we touched a little bit on the support from family and our parents early on in this episode, but did you encounter anyone truly of your family, your circle, your main support say, like, this is not going to work? Like, that's not a real career.
I love that you asked that.
You know, the shock value of, you know, Rick, you made it. Like how was that? How did that look like for you?
Well, there was a couple things. Writing this show, the only thing that I was afraid of, and I spoke to my spiritual teacher and director about it, Guru. I said, I'm nervous of what my family's going to say. I didn't care about anybody else, but as I'm nervous because I just want them to stay with me from the beginning to the middle and to the end. I don't want my mom to hear something in the beginning. It's like, oh, I can't believe he said that, and I don't want to watch the show no more. Stay with me. No matter how uncomfortable it may be, stay with me because it's uncomfortable for me too. And then Guru was like, this is not their story. It was like, this is not their story. This is your truth. They have their own truth and they can write their own show and perform it too. But it's not about them. It's about you. Once she kept on drilling down my head, I said, fuck it. What do I have to lose? It is my truth. This is my story. I'm going to keep doing it. So, and I did it. So then I just hoped, I left it with a hope. I hope that they get it. That's all I said. I hope that they get it and they understood and they hear me. And they see me in a new light. So by the time I kind of like told them that I was doing comedy and doing all this stuff, because I was sharing this in another podcast too, that, I'm not people who expect me, I guess, to always be on, always be this funny person, stuff like that. There's different layers to me that I had to learn growing up that I'm okay, that I love silence. I love being alone. I have quietness. I love listening to classical music too, and just zoning out and relaxing. So like people from the world don't see that, right? Because when I go outside into that world and I'm with my friends, they're getting one version of me, of that funny person. And I may get real, of course, because I'm not going to shy myself when times there's a moment to get real and speak your truth. But it's not like that all the time, right? You're not going to just, meet a stranger, be funny, and be like, hey, man, you depressed sometimes? Let's talk about that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just not going to open that closet. Right. So, but when I get home, I'm quiet. Because I don't have to entertain no one, or I don't have to feel like I don't have to be funny. Like I just turn off and I'm like, this is now another side of me that I'm like, wow, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just quiet. I love the silence, or I watch a movie, or I listen to music, or play guitar. So I say that to say that when I told my family that I was going to do this, they're like, you funny? What? You do comedy? What, Ricky? No. Like, yeah, I know you're funny around your friends, but you don't do that in this house. So, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So but I couldn't blame them because they didn't see this other side of me, or they didn't allow for me to feel comfortable to always share this other side. That's why my friends saw it, other people. So I know for them, it was like, oh, wow, okay, like he's going to do it. Like, cool. So when they finally saw it, because when they finally saw it, they saw me like naked. They saw all this singer, poetry, acting. I hit them all at once. So there was like,
that was the tres golpes.
Yeah, that was the tres golpes with Sancocho. There was like, and even my other friends that knew I was funny, right? They didn't know I was this deep. They didn't know I was sing. They didn't see this other. So this was my full circle moment of like, this is what I do. This is who I am. And a lot of people would say, especially let's stick to the family. It was like, it's like I saw two different people. I didn't know this other person. And I didn't know a lot of things that you would share because you would stay quiet or not bring things up. And there was times like, well, in this family, I feel like sometimes you speak up and then they'll hold that against you, or that they misquote you. You're just misunderstood, and it's not about that. And I tried that so many times that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shut up. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what better way to do that and say it on the show, but also put myself in your shoes to understand where you're coming from too, even though I didn't have to. I wanted to, because I had to let that go of what I was holding on to. So I was my brother and my mom after the show. They hugged and kissed me. They were so happy, so proud. My brother told me and looked at me. He says, I get it. I understand. And that meant the world to me. Like, I was like, wow. My mom started changing her dialogue, like saying like, Ricky, I'm always praying for you, to like that what you want to do, that you succeed, that you keep doing it. I love you, and that meant the world to me. Right. And I was like, wow, like this would have been great to always hear. But if she never said it again, I'm happy with that, because I got that moment.
You got it.
So yeah, so I got that, and I'm like, wow, like they actually fucking get it. And then all my other friends like, man, this is awesome. Like, I didn't know this other side of you. So it went from I think it just reminded me of like, keep being who and what you are and don't worry what everybody else thinks. Like, it helps when you have support. Absolutely. Just stick to those people that push you to be better within yourself and to learn and grow. And then go out there and don't be afraid. Because let's say if I was afraid, or I mean, of course that they have fear, but don't let that stop you. That's what I meant. So like, let's say I let that fear and all that stuff stop me, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I would have still have anger towards everybody, because now I'd be blaming everybody else that I didn't do certain things because they didn't support me. And I'm being a victim, and victims don't prosper in life. They just stay stagnant in the same spot. And they think they may be growing because, damn, I would have done this if they did. No, you're just repeating the same cycle, and you're getting more angry because you're not facing shit.
And on that note, that was like a triple dose.
Yeah.
This tasted like the Henny double triple shots I was taking on the cruises now. But it was amazing. It still tastes good right now. That shit still tasted good. It was raw. It was tough, but tasted real good. Perfect. Once again, this conversation is exactly what I wanted for this episode, and with you, of course. We're going to go into the double or nothing segment because you mentioned fears.
Yeah.
And I want to touch a little bit on a specific balance that we deal with, speaking earlier before on the 9 to 5 versus what our passions are. But then also when it comes to this world and this industry that you are in, and I want to shine light on your series. Your other show. I want to shine light on that one a little bit. Yeah, that was the one. Listen, and that was the one. When it comes to this industry, where do you find the balance of ambition and humility? I think sometimes when we know that we are creating our own success,
right?
And listen, I'm famous in my own little double dose of raw talk world. Okay.
You are, boo boo.
That's right. But ever so often going back to our culture, tienes que ser humilde. You have, don't forget where you came from. And a lot of people have different interpretations of that. Some people feel like that's a way of saying, oh, don't talk about your success. I really don't think that's what that's about. But I do think that there has to be a little bit of a balance between having that ambition and humility. Where's your stance on that balance?
I think for me, of course, you get into this and you do it out of love. And then there's a point when you even though I'm still young, but younger, for me, it was always based on truth and see how far I can take this. Of course, that's to say that at one point I would love to have the money, the fame, the houses, whatever. Yes. Who wouldn't, of course, you know what I'm saying? Like, but am I willing to jeopardize who and what I am for that? No. Am I willing to be controlled for that and be a puppet? No. So as I got older, I realized that I don't want to be part of that world, or if I'm blessed to be in that world that's giving me opportunities, that I'm still in control of who and what I am. Right. And that it's a business, and I'm aware that I'm not getting drained and just used. It's just a business for these opportunities that I'm doing, and I'm still doing what I love, but it's not to a point where I'm just, a puppet in a sense, right? And what worked for me, and I grew into this, is that once I realized that I don't want to be in Hollywood or chase Hollywood or be in that society, or I'm doing everything to hopefully get into that thing, that changed everything for me, because I could be anywhere and still do what I want to do. I don't need to be noticed by those people, who's writing those checks or whatever. It's like, it's not about that for me. It's like, how do I feel about this? And I'm getting a response of real genuine people around me. That's more than enough. And if I keep doing this, of course, I will get blessed with more opportunities along the way. But I started being in control of my journey and my content and what I want to do, what I want to see, and knowing that it's possible. It may take longer, right? Because I don't have this big bank, but that's okay. I have people that can support, maybe give me $10, $20 towards the project. And then I'm my 9 to 5 job, right? Which is helping me to live life and also invest in my dreams, right? So I started saying, look, you know what? I don't need that. And I don't want to chase that,
Right.
this system, because I seen where it can lead you if you get knee deep into it, and see how your ego can grow if you're not remaining humble. So um, so yeah, once I was able to realize I'm in control of my destiny and this is how I want to do it, it kind of like made sense of like, well, yeah, I don't really, it would be nice to have producers or back that support, but for this moment, I'm still getting the shit done and still hitting people and meeting new people, making connections. This is the dream. I'm healthy. I got a family. I got love. I'm blessed to have a job that helped me with my bills and also invest in my dreams. I'm creating content, connecting with people. I'm living life. That's the dream. And someone had to like told me that like many years ago. He's like, you're living the dream, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's named everything that I was doing. He says, yeah, that's the dream. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Because we grow up, we see this lifestyle, just like Instagram, whatever, this perception of what it is to really make it. And I had to change that. Well, making it to me is naming everything that I list. And hopefully I'm in a position to make what I make in my job now with health insurance, but I'm only doing what I love. That's it. That's the ultimate dream for me. Right now I'm living my dream, but the next level of a dream is like, man, hopefully I'm blessed to make my salary now just creating. And everyone around me is fine. I still have the health benefits and all that stuff. That's it. I'm good. And I saw that early on at a Dave Chappelle interview on the inside the actor studio. I was 19 years old. I just started like doing a lot of comedy stuff. And he said that when he was ready to go out into that Hollywood stuff, and his dad sat him down and said, I just want you to know that everybody wants to make it and everybody is not going to make it. And then Dave Chappelle said, well, that depends on what your definition of what making it is. He's like, you're a teacher. You make $60,000 a year. You have health benefits and stuff like that. He said, if I can do that just doing comedy, then I made it. And his dad said, you're ready. You can go. If you keep with that in your mind, you can go. So that touched me. And I was like, oh shit, like, yeah. What is my definition of making it? Just like I shared with you, it's like, you made it. You did a podcast. I know you have other dreams. Everybody's always going to have other dreams, which is great. Keep dreaming. But you accomplished one of your dreams already doing this podcast. You made it. Yeah. And now the difference is now you have goals. Yeah. Right? People think that you have dreams, you accomplish it now. Like, now what? Do I go back to being miserable? No. You're adding goals. You're adding goals to your dreams now. Your bullet points. Yes. That was the dream. Now you have bullet points of where you want to reach. And now you're like thankful and counting your blessings and grateful of the ride. Like, but you made it. You created this journey for you. You made it, and it's possible. It's your version of making it. It may not be Hollywood make it, and not be these other rich producers and things making it, or having agents or other friends that you see having all the success. That's their version. Yeah. But you made it. This is your version. And at the end of the day, you didn't sell your soul and you're still happy and you're healthy. You made it.
That's right. I have my own red carpet out here. I'm just saying. It goes real far down East Tremont.
There you go. And that, who's to say that's not a great red carpet?
That's a great red carpet to me.
Exactly.
I love one thing that you said just now about the ultimate happiness. It's interesting that you mentioned this, because I made it a point that I wanted to journal while I was on vacation. I really wanted to reflect. And I found that time just kept going. I was so with myself, listening to that ocean, listening to the wind, feeling those sun rays. I hope I'm not making nobody jealous right now, because I know it's cold in New York City.
And, I just muted this whole thing.
The whole thing, right? I'm sorry. But he's like, that's it, I'm done. Show's over. I got to finally journal. And I actually wrote in my journal, and I never do this, and this is like the first time here on this show, but I actually wrote in my journal that I'm no longer upset with myself with certain setbacks. I'm actually now excited that I've set newer goals and that I'm challenging myself all over again, knowing that I've accomplished certain things once before and I know I could do it again. And reflecting on the fact that I am truly happy with where I am in my life right now. Even with the little hiccups, even with the little, rocks along the way that I've had to like skip over, maybe tumble down a little bit, I am wholeheartedly, genuinely happy with where I am. And I think it takes a lot of self-awareness and self-growth.
Give
And
yourself credit.
I honestly, there's things that, speaking on fears that I wanted to shine a little light on right now. At 36 years of age, let me say it that way. I truly do feel accomplished and excited for what more I can accomplish in the next 4 years. As I'm planning my 40th birthday party already. But I totally am. But I'm looking forward to what that future can hold. Keeping that ambition and that humility so balanced, keeping my faith, keeping my belief. Like there is a certain level of excitement, knowing that the fears are there, but they're not taking over. They're not steering the wheel, right? And knowing that I don't have any regrets, that I'm okay with where life has taken me. And I wanted to ask you if where you are today, if reflecting on all those fears, reflecting on your journey, reflecting on this industry and the balancing act of it all, your show, the series, do you have any regrets? And if you could also shine a little bit of light of that truth when it comes to the series you have out there on your channel.
You know what? I don't have any, I'm gonna be honest. Regrets with the careers, no. The only couple regrets that I probably have, and this is very naive and self-centered, is when I was out there having fun and I was meeting women. There's some regrets that I'm like, damn, why I never spoke up to some of them, like to come out of my shell and say, I could have spoke. Not to say that was gonna lead to anything or whatever, because but I was like, but that was like me. There's moments of like I had like, because if I was in a club or anything, like I was not the type of person to come up to you and be like, hey, what's up, baby? Like that was never my thing. I was always like the funny dude or whatever, and they introduced me that way. I was like, that was my way in. But there was different regrets of like, let me try this other person to be this person that I'm like, you know what? I sometimes it'll just pop in my head. I'm like, man, why did I say what's up to her? Or why didn't I start a conversation? And like, I think of the fear that I had of getting rejected. And I think that's what makes me like, damn, I regret that moment. I wish I'd go back and just to see what happened, do a take two. So, but that's the only thing. But big regrets in life of like what I am like dreams and no, because I would if I didn't chase them. I think everything that I set out to do and what I wanted to do, I've been blessed to have people around me to help me get there. And most importantly, me believe in myself to do them. And I did them. And so like, if God forbid tomorrow I pass and I hopefully I don't, I'm blessed to see many more years of life, I would not I feel I would not have this feeling like, damn, I should have did this show, or I should have did that, or I should have learned how to play piano, or because I still want to learn how to play piano. I just didn't stop to say no, I'm not going to do it. Like I do have the ambitions to do it. Like, so for me, it's like, well, if I look back now, it's like, damn, I left a lot so far. Like in my, if I had everyone, you have a legacy. I have a legacy for people to look back and be like, yo, his music touched me. His shows touched me. Him being a friend just touched me. Me being his presence, let him hear me out. I think I did or have been doing and conscious of like being aware of these things where I'm like, I don't want to leave things undone because out of fear. They may be undone because I ran out of time, not because I was fearful and I let that to control me to not do it. If I leave things behind, it's because damn, it was time to return home. And that was the end of my journey. But I'll be happy that I'll be coming back down again in another life to do them, to finish them, right? New list, new goals, new journey. So yeah, I don't have regrets on that type of level. And I'm glad, right? Because you know this. You'll talk to friends, and some of them are older, or some of them are your age, or some of them are younger, and they're already saying, "I wish I would have done that." I'm like, motherfucker, you can stop wishing. You can do it. You're just scared because what happens is, right? This is what happens between the doers and the sayers. They don't want to do the work. They see the work that they have to do, so they don't do it. So they rather just say it. And they think by saying it is so sufficient enough as just putting a Band-Aid on there. But like they lying to themselves, saying, well, I said it so much that, maybe it'll happen. But it's like, no, you got to do the work. And then there's consistency behind it. There's preparation, there's organization, there's learning, there's growth. This podcast stuff ain't easy. You fucking have your life and those stuff, and you got to lay this shit out. You know what I'm saying? If you slack, you're the one slacking. Your content is the one that's holding back. You're not gonna. I learned this a long time ago. This is why I work with a selective group, and most of the time I work by myself. I don't want to leave my destiny in anyone's hands, because not everyone is on the same level or same page of me of how I see things, and that's okay. They don't want to go for the ride, but I want to go for the ride, and I'll be there. Hopefully, you'll catch up. But if you need help, I'll make a U-turn to help you. But I'm not gonna stay there for too long, because eventually I'm gonna have to go back around and go keep on going straight up. So that's one. And then you said the show.
Yes.
That's also led to, during the pandemic, I was working on my third one-man show, couldn't perform it. So I was like, damn, this whole COVID shit is happening. And I, even now I have it, but I'm still figuring out what's gonna happen. So I don't want to prematurely go out there. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna keep working on it and writing it and keep on getting it better. And when things get better with this world, I'll perform it. And I know with time, I don't like to rush things. I feel like things are only when they're meant to happen, they will happen. I was like, it's just not the time then. So I just keep working it. And then I had this other idea, I'm going through fatherhood. I'm learning that learning this shit, especially like it takes a lot of time, it is a blessing, but there's also ups and downs with it. I'm also questioning my ability of being a father. I didn't have one growing up primarily, but I learned what not to do from him. So, I am aware of that I did let a lot of those daddy issues and traumas go. So, but now I'm figuring out who I am as a father, right? Because I didn't grow up with a lot of kids around me. I did have nieces and nephews, but my sister moved a lot and stuff like so. That uncle role was fulfilled in other areas, but not fully. I felt so. I was really into myself and what I was working on. So here I am having a child, and I'm like, oh damn, like I love this human being. It's my daughter, and I'm learning from it. I'm like, but then like, I got to sacrifice time, but also I got to give time to myself. And then also I got another layer of being husband and then do work. So it's like all this stuff hitting me. And I'm like, what? I don't even know if I'm capable of doing this. Can I do this? All these things started happening. And then I'll go online, and then I'm seeing all this support that women have for being a mother. And I'm like, God damn, like if one day they wake up and they're like, the milk ain't coming out the titties. Like, girl, come over this group. We got a group where we talk about milk don't coming out of titties. We got you, girl. If the wife, is going through it and they're like, I just want to choke my husband with, oh girl, we got a group for killing our husbands. Come on, that we know how you feel. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit for men? Because I'm going through it. And luckily I had a friend that we'll talk, but I'm like, yo, why are we not talking about this? Why men are not really talking about this? And not only on a father level, but also on a human level, how we feeling, and also our own daddy issues, because that shit potentially and it will affect our fatherhood with our child, because that trauma will pass on to them.
That's right.
So I'm like, yo, why? Like, I know we're not the only men talking about this. So then I had this idea, kept it there. I'm like, yo, I just want a show to be about fatherhood, but deeper about fatherhood, where we talk about our fatherhood issues of our own dads and the issues that we're having now with our, journey with our kids, kids that we have. And I just want to have men talk. I literally said, I just want to see men be vulnerable and talk, similar to like how I am on stage.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my friend Jerry Diaz about it. and he's another comedian that we see around the circuit. And we will always say, yo, I'm a big fan of yours, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, man, we got to work together. You know, the industry, that industry told us, like, we got to work together. I'm like, yeah. It wasn't until I invited him to my podcast. I'm a type of person where, like, yo, if I want to know more about you, I'm gonna invite you to the podcast, and it's a story. The podcast is about everyday journeys. Everybody's is important, so let's get to hear that story. So let's bring it on. Like, I want to hear your story, man. Like, I don't want to. We're Latinos, especially in this world. Like, I don't want to hold on to this thing where, like, being jealous of somebody else because they're doing something, and I'm like, yo, he don't deserve. Like, nah, I'm gonna nip this in the butt. I didn't feel that towards him, but I'm like, we're always around each other. Why don't we just actually sit down and just shoot the shit and talk?
Yeah.
Long story short, he's on the podcast. We vibing out. We got so much in common. And he talks about his daughter, his fatherhood. And I'm like, oh man, this would be great. Once again, we should work together, right? So now, months down the road, pandemic happened. Got this idea. I'm like, yo, I think this would be great for Jerry and I to do this, because he's also another dude that will speak about these things. So I tell him about the idea. He loves it, because I went to the park and I started noticing when I took my child to the park, all these empty benches. And I was like, yo, we don't use benches no more. I'm like, I remember we used to sit down on a bench and shoot the shit and talk to people, or even if we just need a break, just to chill on the bench with our surroundings and be connected to around it. That shit is empty, bro. I'm like, damn, like we don't use benches no more. And I was like, that's it. That's what it's gonna be. Two dads of color. They meet on the bench. They were at a children's park, and they just slowly starts connecting and talking about their life and their fatherhood stories and building this bond. And then I told Jerry about it. He jumped on board, and he would share stories from his life. And I was like, you mind if I take that and elaborate it and make it into something? He said, yeah, of course. Then I would take my stories, and then it just started building and building and building, where we had this parallel life, in the sense that we was going through very similar things with our own dads, and the trauma with that and the anger that we had, and also the funny and also stressful shit that we're going through about raising our kids. And that's how DAD-rahpy was born. And from there, you know, it was dads and therapy. DAD-rahpy. That's how it came to be. And it was therapeutic. And while we're building this connection on set, like we did a lot of Zooms, but our relationship really started to build naturally while doing this show in front of you guys in the camera. And that's how it came to be. I just wanted to be truthful. I wanted to be honest. And I wanted to shine a light on fatherhood, and also to say that you're not alone, and it's normal to feel what you're feeling. And it's okay to share. It's okay to be open. What's not okay is to hold all those feelings in, or to feel like, oh, that's gay to talk to another dude, or that's gay to have those feelings. No, you're hurting yourself by suffocating yourself. You're doing more harm than you know, because it's okay to talk about it. You're human. You don't even have to have a dick or pussy to be like, oh, what's your gender? Female, male. You're a human. And human beings have emotion, and it's okay to share and try to figure the shit out.
That's right.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah. And to say to the people in the back, men have daddy issues too. Even if you're not a dad yet, men have daddy. Even if your daddy lived with you, men have daddy issues too. There's so much that holds so much weight just in our upbringings, by generation to generation. Let's just leave it at that. But also, let's not. Shit just keeps going. You know, it's like you think it's going to stop somewhere, and it doesn't. The same shit that a lot of men didn't like, that was said to them, happening to them, shown to them. They say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then they end up fucking doing it again.
Right.
You know, and that's how the cycles continue. And so this is, it's so huge to me. I mean, I feel you, right? Women go through something. There's a group for everything. I mean, you're going to lie. No, you're going to lie. There is. And I formed part of amazing groups too. Right. And then I asked myself, and on the show, we don't incriminate no one, and I'm not going to give no names, but I've had some relationships with some pretty fucked up men, but then some that were not entirely all around fucked up. And even the ones that were fucked up, I cannot say that I will look at them and say, he was so malicious. But in taking the time to know these men and taking the time to listen to certain things that they shared with me, that they would say, even that I would hear them talking with other people, I realized that a good amount of them, a good handful of them, had daddy issues, whether their dad was there or not. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing on how I could see now my generation being affected by it, the same way that a lot of men have mommy issues. Women do too. And my mom was right downstairs, and I adore her. She's my entire life. But there was definitely a rift between us, right? Growing up, there was definitely certain things that I just did not understand until I became a mom, right? We touched on this early on in the show. And so I think it puts so much into perspective and an understanding for men around 30s to really look back, to see this show, watch it, understanding whether you are a dad or not. You will be a dad someday. You may never be a dad, but you came from a dad. And whether that person is there or not, you might have some issues you need to deal with. You need to be able to reveal with yourself, at least, even before you can reveal it to someone else. And it truly impacts the people who are around you, the relationships that you build, continue to build. You know, I say this time and time again, I raise a young man. I need to make sure he's in tune with his emotions. And it's no secret with his father. We live in different states. We co-parent way better today than what we did before. But one of the things I've always put into my son's father was, I fight for your relationship to be good with him. You know, and I think, you know, I will pat myself on the back, and then I'll pat his current wife on the back as well. Shout out to her, because it took a lot of teamwork, between the two of us, and it still does to this day, with some misunderstandings here and there. It still does to this day, because if maybe he did have daddy issues, I don't want my son to have those daddy issues. And ever so often we fall in a space where it feels like there is a daddy issue, and I'm like, y'all got to talk about it. And it's me being that therapy between my son's father and my son. Like, y'all need to talk about this shit. Like, you're old enough. You need to talk to your father. You need to talk to him. Y'all got to cut this shit out, because we're not going to continue these cycles. We're not going to keep this going. It's going to stop, and it's stopping here in this house.
It's so important to communicate, right? And share your truth, no matter if they get it or not. Your son and his father. You know, and like you said, kudos to you guys on working on that and making it an emphasis and a point to do it, because you just bottle it inside and nothing happens after that. Like, well, what, you're getting angry, but nothing is resolved. That's what I'm trying to say. You're still holding on to it, and it's affecting your life, and you think you're getting away with something, but you're really not. It's going to come up, in, like you said, in many different aspects of your relationship, and also your relationship too within yourself and how you see things. And that's something with the show that I learned, that, you know, that the love that I got from fathers is like, yo, man, it's so true. I relate to it. But also mothers and women. I didn't know men had emotions like that. I didn't know men felt this way. Or now I understand my father, or they took the father out and related the basic gist of the issues that we was explaining, but they reverted back to their mothers. There's like, this is how I am with my mom. You know, so it opened a dialogue, which opened this floodgate that I'm getting all this love, because it came from a truthful place of people talking. And I'll get these messages and DMs or comments, them sharing their life. And, you know, and I think that's so beautiful, because all I wanted was, I needed to get it off my chest. Jerry needs to get it off his chest. And together we made this. And my wife was the director. This is our time. Me and her was directing. There's another aspect of us working together. And she learned from it. She learned certain things from me that, like, wow, you didn't share this to me, but you was going through. And I just didn't felt like at that time was to share it, right? I don't know, for whatever reason. I just didn't feel like it was needed, because I felt like it didn't affect me, that it was holding me back as a father. I just like, damn. And plus she's like, we share things. I'm like, but it defeats the person. You're not, I need a man. I want another man to talk about this. Like, you're a woman, and that's great. And we're going to talk about it. But I'm like, I've been around. I grew up with grew up with my mom and my sister primarily in the house. Like, this will feel better if I communicate this with a man, because a lot of my communication that I did was with women. Every now and then, there's one or two men would share. We would share stuff, but I was more open just talking to women, and I just want to change the narrative of like, yo, also that there's fathers there that's present in their lives, and they're of color, they're Dominican, they're Latino, and they still there, and they still hold this thing of like, I'm a dad and the responsibility. And I just want to show that, yo, they got feelings and they're talking about it. Let's just talk, because right now where the generation is going, we don't know how to talk anymore. Everything is on here, and this is it's great, but it's also suffocating us and also ruining a lot of relationships because we don't know how to communicate without this shit.
That's right.
Before this came, we used to fucking use our words and talk to people. How are you doing? How are you really doing? Let's talk. Let's not text everything through here, because it's not doing anything, and then you get your words are being misconstrued and all this stuff. And so I think we need to get back to the basics of just communicating. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have all the answers, but let's work this out. Let's figure it out. Let's let it go. Let's learn from this in a positive way. And like you said, co-parenting, that's fucking tough. But is it impossible? No, it's possible. It takes work. And look, there's some people that want to be fucking assholes in the relationship and not make it work. And that's when you still be the bigger person. It's like, well, I'm going to move forward without you. And your son is going to understand why. And I'm going to communicate that with our daughter and communicate that with her. Because in the long run, you're going to have to face your shit. And she may come back to you to, let's talk about this shit. Yeah. And that's your journey.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Oh, I don't know about y'all, but I think I need another shot of Henny. Anyway, I'm probably not drinking Henny for several weeks.
You're probably still drunk, but you don't know.
I'm probably still drunk. Yeah. It's like I feel like the waves are still happening. Yeah. One more thing on that. A shout out to the concept of the bench, because if you're from the hood, right, that especially in the summertime, okay, you had, if the pompa wasn't open, the fire hydrant, right? You had some, modern day sprinklers at the park that were open, and tanning happened at the park bench. So shout out to that. That just came to my mind because I did a lot of tanning on top deck on a cruise. But I definitely used to take my kid, or even we used to go to the park, and the tanning, we thought we was cute. We used to have us sitting on that park bench. And we was there just watching everybody, just taking in the sound of the trees and the wind and the sun. And you knew the time of day it was, the weather, all of that, just by sitting on that park bench. So shout out to that concept, because so many can relate to that moment. But were we really paying attention to what was going around us, what was happening around us? I can't tell you that. Looking back now to the many times I sat at a park bench, I cannot tell you how many times I did notice if there were dads sitting there talking. But I did see lots of moms, definitely lots of babysitters, right? But I can't tell you if I saw that many dads. And it goes so much more into the concept of, were they there? Were they working? Where were they? Right? There's so much truth to that. So great concept, great idea. Once again, guys, there's in the show notes, you will have the links to YouTube channel and also to these precise shows as well.
And one thing I just want to add on to, another emphasis that I wanted to talk about in this show, was showing that it's never too late as an adult, right, to still have those feelings and then face your dad about them. To go to them and say, yo, and we spoke about this early on. You did some things that I didn't agree with. And I wish that you would have did it this way. And it's okay that if your parents feel attacked, right, and feel defensive and be like, well, I did this because of X, Y, and Z. That's fine. Let them, that's their truth, and you have your truth. But you're never too old to have that one-on-one to let them know.
That's right.
We show that, not to do any spoilers, but we show that, like, maybe I should, tell them and have a one-on-one. Because how many times you hear people who have these issues and their parents pass away and they cry and they're going through this whole emotional journey, and they always say, I wish I would have told them how much I loved them, or our issue, I wish we would have solved this. And guess what? It is fucked up that now all of a sudden you have this epiphany So I wanted to show that while they're still here and they're alive, do it. But also, it's never too late because they're still spiritually around. So you still can let go and share.
Yes.
The only difference is you may not get a answer right away. They may do it spiritually in different ways. I don't know, I'm just using an example. Let's say you visit a gravesite and you had this long hour epiphany moment and you sharing and you're letting go. Maybe a butterfly shows up on the graves. So maybe they show up in your dream.
Yeah.
So there's many ways to get that answer back. And it's not always about them. It's about you doing it and letting go and sharing and getting it out.
Yes.
So.
Yes, absolutely.
And you may not get the response you want to if they're alive. And that's okay.
And
but you did that for you. You say, okay, I agreed to disagree. You shared your truth. I shared mine. Now let's move forward because now I know exactly what I'm going to keep getting out of this relationship. And that's great. I'm no longer crucifying you.
And take that as your answer too. Be able to accept what you do get. Even you may want what you want, but then you also need to be able to accept what you're going to end up getting and take that still as a win. Take it as a win because you got something at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Then living in that regret that could have, would have, should have. And
you did it. You
still did it. You did it. You actually did it. So
now, God forbid, when they go, you don't have that. I wish I would. You did.
No, you did.
The only thing you would have is like, I wish you would have had that mother and son relationship, daddy and son relationship, but it's okay. I still have that little void. Like I always say, I still have that void that to this day, I still wish I had a father relationship. Yeah. I've been blessed to have men play father figure roles and give me lessons. And I'm thankful for that. Right. And I'm a father now. And my daughter's giving me that love and that love to each other. So I take my wins, I take my losses. I will always still have a void that I wish I had that father around. Right. But the difference is I'm not dwelling on it. I'm like, I'm counting the blessings around me of what I did have because his small part of him not being around now, it may be huge, but in hindsight, I didn't lose anything.
Yes.
Like I still got everything that I still needed. Unfortunately, it didn't come from me, it came from other people, but I'm still have everything that I needed that I was supposed to have in this life. It wasn't just by the book, mother, father, together, forever. I got it in different ways, and that's also fine. I created my own family. You got the family by blood, and then you got your own family that you create around you. And that's also
right.
Great.
Yes, that's right. Shout out to you for saying that concept. You didn't lose anything, as cliche as this may sound, but I'm gonna say it because it came to my mind. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Kate Hudson has a line, and she's fighting with Matthew McConaughey, and she's like, "You can't lose something you never had, right? You took your wins. You take your wins. I mean, granted, that's like a shitty love story, but the concept is though, it's like, is it really a loss if you never had it? Maybe there's a void to your point, right? Because it is something you never had, but you're not really losing.
Right.
You didn't really lose, right? So I appreciate you bringing that concept to the table too. We're going to go into the overdose, which is our last segment of the show. And on this segment, we usually share something that we're either overjoyed with or just completely over it. And it could be absolutely anything you want to.
I got one already.
Oh, he has one. All right. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this and let it out. Go.
I'm going to do overjoyed, right? So I'm always been big onto like fashion, dressing up, my fedoras, all that stuff, looking cute, shoes, all that stuff. It was something I always loved, just like dressing up, right? So one of my dreams or passions was to like have a fashion line or I love the styles from the 60s, 70s, and men looking presentable and stuff like that, and well kept ties, bolo ties, all that stuff. So I always had a dream or goal. Like, man, I would love the same way I'm creating my own style and doing things. I would love to like maybe create my own clothing or something, put something together. So this is something new. You're getting this is just happened. So you're getting it fresh off the press, right? So I was looking at, there was this hat store that I was looking into that they do customizations of fedora hats and stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, so cool. And I reached out a couple times to be like, I would like to work on a customized hat. Can we do it? And I'm like, yeah, you just come in, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until the third time that I was asking about this that it hit me that I said, well, why am I going to pay someone to work with them to customize my hat? Why don't I have a whole bunch of fedoras? Why don't I start customizing my own hats and
Okay.
start putting elements of me into the hat, changing the brim of it, the cloth, the ribbon that goes around it, putting little things in, changing the feathers, getting different color one. So I'm like, yo, I'm capable of doing that. So I start doing YouTube videos and looking at them, stuff like that. And then my wife is like, yeah, why don't you? She's like, this will be great. So I get this overjoyed experience. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna buy like a cheap fedora hat from online and I'm gonna start experimenting. I'm gonna start getting these different cloths. I'm gonna start getting these different ribbons and different things, learn how to sew a little bit. And I just started creating like a hat, like for my wife. She said, start with me. I was like, yeah, I got you. So I started today because I got some pieces and items and I started customizing a fedora hat. And I'm so happy how it's turning out. And I'm like, I put on my jazz music and I'm like, doo, 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 doo. And I'm figuring, and I came to her, I was like, yo, you're gonna have to teach me how to sew this part because this is how I want it, like this. So I'm so happy that I found another creative outlet where like, right, I wanted like to do clothes, but now I'm doing something that I love to do in the sense of like fedora hats and customizing it the way I see it as a vision, or like changing colors and stuff like that. And it just started literally the other day, but today was the first time today I started like really doing it and like started sketching. I'm like, man, if I could do this, how would I able to do this? Well, I gotta buy this, so let's do it. So yeah, I started like customizing fedora hats.
Amazing, y'all. I love when people make announcements on my show. You have no idea how overjoyed I am right now with this moment.
I'm hyped. And my wife is like, yo, she's like, I love to see, like, you should see yourself, like, you're so excited. Cause I'm like, she's like, don't show me what you're doing. But I'm like, yo, I gotta show you. I just did like, I got this chain. I put the chain on. Look how I make it look different with the chain. She said, that's it. She said, don't show me no more. I was like, all right. Like, yo, and then I'm like, I'm just seeing these other things. I'm like, oh, I'm like a little kid right now. Like I found another creative outlet. I'm like, I'm creating something. And it's not to toot my own horn. It's dope. I'll show you like once the things is done, because I'm not ready to like, show you the world yet. But once we stop recording, I'll show you what I got so far. I'm like, yo, so yeah, y'all only gonna
hear about it. You're not gonna see it yet. But absolutely. Oh my God, that's so amazing. First of all, I love when people take those risks of just like, well, why am I giving you the money for it? Like I could do this myself, first and foremost. But second of all, also coming from parents who worked in factories and sewed, and my parents, I wrote about it recently, and I'm gonna share what my overjoy is. But my parents worked in factories sewing. And one of the things
I need YouTube. I'm gonna give me the number because I need YouTube lessons. I'm going to your house. Fuck that.
Kid you not? Yes, you're invited. No worries. Sundays, Ecuadorian feast. They might do the caldo de bolas verdes.
Yo, and I'm gonna bring some hats and like, yo, mommy, I'm trying to do this. I don't know. She speaks. I don't really speak Spanish about, but I'm like, yo,
she understands.
She understands. Yeah, because I understand everything, but I can't really speak it.
Right.
I sound like a gringo.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, yo, necesito ayuda para ese fedora. Como dice, así. Like so, and so that's what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna pick it up from her. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is amazing. But they used to actually, first of all, shout out to me for always volunteering my parents to do this. My mother was always volunteered to bake the cakes because, and again, nice. I'm gonna mention what my overjoy is. Or like cook, the panini for the class. Definitely the cake for the bake sale. And I volunteered my parents several years to sew the costumes for Pan American Day. Oh. And mind you, this was aside from their 9 to 5, which was in factories. Okay. So I used to volunteer for them to do that, and they would do the work for us. And bien presentada. Like, my mom could do it. We have a sewing machine at home. My parents do this for a living. They know how to do this. No worries. And there's 2 of them, right? My mom and my dad. And my dad, shout out to my dad. Shout out to my dad and my mom used to sew these skirts together. So I love when I hear that people are still using their hands when it comes to this level of creativity.
It's crazy, right? Because, growing up, we laugh at it or joke about it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a job or whatever, but like, it is. It takes skill. Yeah. And it is a job. It's just as important as a police officer or all those. It's a skill. People. And it's funny because as you see it, it's almost like a dying art. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something that's being taught.
Yeah.
That's not something. It's like, not everybody wants to be a plumber. A plumber is a job, you know what I'm saying? Or like these skills that we need with our hands or whatever. It's like, is like frowned upon. It's not in high demand. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And I'm just like, what's gonna happen to all these other people? That's still like, it's still and it's an art form. I know that they, no matter if it was a job for them, or I could tell like it probably wasn't knowing that they'd do it. But if they did it on their own in their spare time to create something for somebody else, that's how they show love. That's a creative moment for them too, therapeutic moment. So, that was an overjoyed moment.
Yes. So the overjoy, I want to give a quick shout out, and I've definitely mentioned them on this platform, but I definitely want to give a quick shout out and encourage my listeners if they didn't see it, because I was on a cruise for 10 days and I reposted it as soon as it came on. And I will continue to repost it. But speaking on community, speaking on Latinos supporting Latinos, which, Rick, you brought this up, and it is very important. And just how meaningful it has been to me to be part of this community one way or another. Vecina Couture is Dominican-based, Afro-Latina-based brand and company. And there's a lot of concept of the vecinas and the vecinos. And I've spoken on this a little bit on the show. And it was me supporting a robe for your female, right? La vecina. And I have so far 2 robes, and I'm hoping they come out with the 3rd color that I want. And to the point of where my money goes where I support my community, people who support me, but also that I can relate to. And it's more meaningful to me than anything else, right? Yeah. They reached out to me. Nice. And I was just like in shock, but also so humbled and so grateful that I was just asked, hey, we would like to feature you as Vecina of the Week. And it happened to occur while I was on my vacation. And it was just such a moment for me to be first stop in San Juan, Puerto Rico, seeing this, being posted, me being a daughter of immigrant parents, Ecuadorian, born and raised in the Bronx, understanding that our neighborhood support was from the vecina and the vecino. It came from our own community. It came from the upbringing of having an elevator in a 6th floor apartment building that never worked. And so we needed each other's help just to carry groceries up, or we needed this, or we needed that, little things like that, little moments like that. And it was just so reflective for me to be able to sit there and understand that I was able to tell a little bit of myself in a series of videos. But part of that concept was to talk about the matriarch of my family. And I was able to shine light on my mom. And I was able to tell a little bit about who my mom is to us, who my mom was to her community. And it wasn't until I started writing that I realized just how much my mom has done. She went from working in a factory to volunteering in our school, still sewing costumes, to raising 4 kids, traveling from the Bronx to Hoboken, New Jersey, to work in that factory every single day, to come home to cook, and even more reflective that when she became a grandmother, she went and got licensed to open up her home daycare, and then ended up taking care of kids in the neighborhood. Like, it was so reflective for me. And I'm such an overjoyed because I keep it all the way raw here. Yeah. My relationship with my mama has never been perfect. Yeah. I was definitely a problem child. Okay. I'm an outstanding citizen today, but I was definitely a problem child. Okay.
But you was finding your way.
Yeah. I mean,
you knew that there was many things to be happen to explore. And
Yeah. But and as much as there's so many things I don't agree with her, and there's so many things we see at odds today, I would not be able to do so much that I do if it wasn't for her. Yeah. And I am truly blessed to, in all her imperfections, have her so perfect for me. And I'm truly overjoyed that I was able to tell a little bit about her, to be able to tell my story. Yes.
I thought that was beautiful. And I'm so happy and proud of both of you guys.
Yeah.
You should invite her on your podcast and learn about her story.
Well, you know what? I think she will come back, because she actually came on the show for a little snippet episodes ago, and I'll probably share on the show notes that link. I highlighted I highlighted 2 guests of mine to talk about DACA, and I opened up the show a little bit of my mom's journey when she came to this country. And she may just have to come back on the show, because I think it's a raw moment to be able to look at your entire childhood, your entire upbringing, your life today, understanding your voids, understanding your fears, understanding what's been there and what has not, and understanding who you are today, and being able, to your point, Rick, to see all your wins, all your success, to be okay with that. Because I don't think anybody's life is perfect, but I think life is what we fucking make it. And if we're going to look at it through the negative lens, it's going, to your point, suck us completely dry. And we're not going to live life at all. And I owe this overdose to my mama. I would like for you to tell my listeners where they can find you, where they can follow you, support, subscribe. So then y'all can stay tuned for the Fedoras when it comes out on sale, or shop, and we're gonna go for the launch party and all that.
Wait, you could find me at Dee's house, because I'm gonna get sewing lessons from my mom. So starting
Sunday.
tomorrow, Sunday. Starting this Sunday. So if you want to say what's up to me, I'll be there eating some Sancocho, their version of Sancocho, and learn how to sew certain things. No, but they can follow me on rhcomedy.com. On Instagram, it's called RH Comedy. Instagram too for DAD-rahpy, DAD-rahpy. You can follow us there, the Winning Cloud Podcast. But if you go to RH Comedy on Instagram, all my information is there. The link is in the bio. And the same thing for Facebook too. Reach out to me. I'll share you the link. Or if you just want to say what's up, I enjoy listening to. That's also cool too. Slide in the DMs. It's fine. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Let's connect, man. And if you don't, that's also fine. That's also cool too. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of fun here. So whether you didn't like it or not, I love this episode. Me too. And I love getting to know you and sharing your story. And I would love to know. I can't wait till you're on our platform, so I get to know more about you, and also learn about your mom too when you do a part 2, and I want to check out part 1. But you know what? Thank you so much for accepting my request to be here. I'm truly honored and humbled. And once again, man, I just knew you, but knowing the glimpse of what it took to do this, I don't take that lightly. I'm always would love to help people or shine a light on them. Like, yo, I know what it takes to do that, and kudos to you. So I want to say I'm proud of you and proud of what you did to do this, man. I'm super happy for you, and I wish you nothing but the best and much love and success, because it's going to keep growing, and it's going to keep taking you places within yourself and to other places that you can imagine and haven't imagined it, right? And keep building that connection and keep being on that boat cruising.
I plan to. Thank you, Rick. The concept here is, we get comfortable being uncomfortable. No topic is ever off limits. And I think you embody that so well with your shows. And that type of performance and visionary mixed with truth in a concept that we can understand and relate, we should never take that for granted, and we should support it 1000%. So the links will definitely be in the show notes, how to reach out to Rick, check out his work, support, subscribe, all the works, and your podcast as well. Absolutely. As of now, you tell me when and where, and I'll be there. Again, aside from Sunday with the Sancocho and all that jazz, but be more than happy to. And as always, guys, this has been another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and we are live on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Make sure to tell a friend to subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to you later. Bye.